Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy RJ Game News USA here, back today with another video. And today, I'm going to discuss my thoughts, my review on Spider-Noir, which is a brand new Spider-Man series. So if you like this kind of content, support by liking the video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. So let me just jump right into this. So for years, I've asked for a more mature Spider-Man, a more, we'll say, sarcastic Spider-Man, a more Deadpool-esque style Spider-Man. And we got sort of the mashup that I didn't know we needed. Basically, it's Spider-Man, but set in the 1930s. And there's a lot of changes made to both the superhero and the person behind the mask for this series. So I want to talk about some of the changes, and then we're going to get into the positives and negatives of this show. But first, let me just say that overall, I did give this show an 8 out of 10. I do highly recommend it for the general audience. So first, going over some changes between this and your typical Spider-Man. The main protagonist is not Peter Parker. Instead, it's Ben Reilly, who is a detective, which fits really well into the noir name of Spider-Man, Spider-Noir, because it does also, instead of taking place in modern day or the 70s or the 90s, it takes place in the 1930s. On the backdrop of prohibition and gangsters and crime, and sort of fits into that genre when cinema was first becoming more popular and television around the same time the Great Depression was raging, and like I said, crime and the mob were running rampant through the prohibition. So when it comes to that, that's kind of mostly the differences there. And the other differences are, of course, this version of Spider-Man is a lot more sarcastic and a little less selfless than the Peter Parker version. And also, they are willing to swear, and they are willing to cross some lines that the regular Spider-Man normally wouldn't cross. So I felt like it was good they did a character that was outside of Peter Parker for this. So we're going to kick it off with the positives before we get to the negatives. I will slightly maybe spoil some stuff, but I'm not going to get too heavy into spoilers. But first, for the positives, we got to start with Nicolas Cage. This may be one of my favorite things he's ever done, and he's been in a lot of stuff. I've never been the biggest Nick Cage fan, but I think as the person out of the mask, he does a really good job at dealing with loss, at being a character that's grieving and hurt, a character that has multiple dimensions to him. As far as his motivations go, he's not a very flat, one-dimensional character, which is great. The acting is believable and interesting. His lines are good. The writing was done well. The pacing of the show was fine. I got no issues there. And another huge positive is the art style. I almost want to watch this twice, because you could watch this in full color or in black and white, and either one looks great. I liked kind of switching between the two. And so I really did enjoy the art style here, the 1930s aesthetic, the mobster gangster aesthetic. And speaking of which, that brings me right to the setting, which obviously I enjoyed the setting very much. I'm really a fan of those old Scarface movies and gangster movies and stuff like that, and TV shows. And, I'm curious to see if we'll ever see, a Wild West Spider-Man or something, which would be weird, but kind of cool. But So I really enjoyed the setting as well, and I thought a lot of the side characters were really interesting. The reporter, the black reporter had to deal with racism, and he was also, a lot of times, he was Ben's voice of reason. So was the secretary. These side characters were very likable characters to have in the show. And the villains, although I don't think none of the villains stood out a lot, the villains were really good as far as like portraying the idea that, hey, these guys need stopped, or hey, these guys are acting like assholes, and this show didn't shy away from pretty good combat scenes and death scenes as well. It didn't really pull its punches that much, which I could appreciate. So like I said, for the most part, I'm walking away with a positive attitude on this. Now, I will say, as far as the negatives go, I don't have a lot here. I just think that it could have went further than it did. I feel like this isn't quite M-rated like I wanted. This isn't your Breaking Bad Spider-Man edition. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like in a lot of areas it still played it safe, even all the way up to the ending, which felt like a good ending. For the most part, I mean, it wasn't like the perfect ending for Ben in particular, but everybody around him was good, we'll say, for the most part. And like, it just lacked a lot of twists and turns, in my opinion. There was very few like major twists or turns in the plot. It felt a little too straightforward and cookie cutter for me, which for this kind of show, I figured maybe we would get a little bit more of a twist or something crazier going on than what we got. And also, another part of the negatives is this, and really has nothing to do with season 1 itself. It's just, I feel a lack of excitement for a season 2. Like, as soon as this ended, I'm like, that was nice. I'm glad I watched it. I don't want any more. And a lot of times when you get that from a TV show, it means that the show was lacking something that made you want more. And I really just don't feel like wanting more of it. So that's a good example of, like when you eat something and you eat it and you just feel filled, but like you don't feel like, man, I want to get that meal again, or boy, I need another bite. No, you just feel like your appetite's quenched for something you were asking for. And that's what this show does. It's very brief. It's 8 episodes. It's like 45 minutes, 50 minutes per episode. Sometimes there were scenes that could lull you to sleep too, to be honest. You know what I mean? I feel like this should be a limited run and stay a limited run. I think there's a ceiling in how good this is. And that ceiling is an 8 out of 10. Alright, so that's my review, guys. What did you think? Did you watch Spider-Noir? And if you did, let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. And until next time, this is your boy RJ signing out. Have a good one.